Hey everyone, Vexillographer here. I know it's been a while. Thank you for all your messages, wondering where I am. Thank you. But finally, there's some really big flag news going on in the United States. Mississippi has officially taken down its flag and has begun the process to get a new one. And it's one of the most interesting flag stories I've ever seen. So let's talk about how we got here through history, and then we'll talk about what happens next. Here we go. So this design was officially adopted as the state flag of Mississippi in 1894 during the Jim Crow period, a period of time when, right after the Civil War, a bunch of southern states began enacting laws to intimidate Black Americans and take away their rights and segregate them based on their ethnicity. Just a terrible time all around. And this flag was part of it, especially by including the Confederate battle flag design as part of it. The Confederate battle flag was never the official flag of the Confederate States of America, but it was a military flag used by some of the troops, and this over time became one of the most well-known symbols of white supremacy and racism. And over time, fast forwarding through the 20th century to 2001. In 2001. Two states, Georgia and Mississippi, being the only two states to include this battle flag as part of their state flag design, began to talk about changing it. So eventually, the Georgia legislature decided to change it to something else that did not have the Confederate battle flag on it. Meanwhile, in 2001, Mississippi decided to put it to a vote for the people of Mississippi to decide. So two designs were proposed. There was the 1894 flag, and there was a new design that replaced the battle flag with a sort of square of blue with 20 five-pointed stars in it, representing the fact that Mississippi was the 20th state to join the USA. So voters in that particular referendum voted to keep the 1894 flag with the battle flag on it, but the movement to replace it with something that can represent everyone in the state continued to grow stronger and stronger over the years. In 2014, a Mississippi artist named Lauren Stennis came up with this flag design, which has been nicknamed the Stennis flag and the Hospitality flag. This design was basically for anyone in Mississippi that wanted to show off their state pride, but also wanted something inclusive that didn't have a racist symbol on it. And this flag also has 20 stars, representing Mississippi being the 20th state, and it got pretty popular. Since 2014, business owners started using it, private citizens started displaying it at their homes, and even state legislators started proposing it year after year as a new official flag. Now, these bills that got proposed in the legislature never made it out of committee. There just wasn't enough support at the time. But over the years, America kept seeing more and more evidence of systemic racism, and people got less and less tolerant of it, less and less patient with it. There was an attack in 2015 that renewed more and more support for getting rid of the Mississippi flag. Numerous colleges started taking it down. Numerous city governments in Mississippi started taking it down. And now we're in 2020. More racist incidents have occurred, more violent incidents against Black Americans have occurred, and of course the George Floyd incident. The murder of George Floyd outraged millions of people in both the United States and across the world. And this outrage led to enormous calls for change, unlike anything we've seen in American history. Even business interests like from Walmart and from the College Basketball League and from the Mississippi Economic Council, a group of businesses basically all gathering together to say, take down this flag. Also, religious groups like the Baptist denomination began to support changing the flag. And this eventually made it into the state legislature. So finally, we have a bill that made it out of committee and could be voted on. This was House Bill 1796. So after carefully designing the legislation and making sure all the votes were there, it went to a vote. House Bill 1796 passed the Mississippi House on June 28th. The same day, it also got passed by the Senate and then went to the governor to be signed. And this governor, who had previously said he did not want to change the 1894 flag, decided to do the right thing and signed it today, as I'm filming this, June 30th, today when I'm filming this, we finally got word that the governor signed it, which means that the 1894 flag is no longer the flag of Mississippi, and the process for getting a new design has officially begun. So after this amazing turn of events, and Mississippi finally getting rid of the old flag, what happens next? I'm sure you're just as curious as I am. So there are 3 parts of this bill you need to know. Number 1, the old Mississippi flag from 1894 is immediately gone. It's abolished, it's no longer the official state flag, which means that for the next few months at least, Mississippi will not have an official state flag. So that's an interesting thing. Number 2, a 9-person commission on redesigning the state flag will be formed, and this commission has to come up with a new state flag design by September. This proposal of theirs will then go to the voters to vote on in the general election in November. So the people of Mississippi will vote yes or no on whatever design that the commission suggests. If it's a yes, then that becomes the new state flag. If it's a no, then the commission has to come up with another design and they'll vote on it in 2021. And we'll see what happens there. And number 3, there are 2 details that are requirements of this design that the commission comes up with. Number 1, of course, the Confederate battle flag. It can't be on it. That would defeat the whole purpose. And number 2 is kind of a weird detail. The phrase, "In God We Trust," is legally required to be written on the design. That's kind of an odd detail there. It makes the design side of me a little bit disappointed because, you know, putting words on flags is not very creative, it's not original, it's lazy, and you can't even read it because flags are not posters, they're moving pieces of fabric. But we've talked about that before. But of course, the citizen side of me knows this is a massive improvement. Obviously, "In God We Trust" is a much more inclusive symbol of hope, and it's replacing an exclusive symbol of hate. So it's obviously an improvement. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they incorporate that "In God We Trust" requirement. That was probably necessary to get all the votes they needed to pass this thing. So that's the plan, and I am very curious to see what happens. I will try to stay on top of this as this process moves along. I'll try to keep you updated. And yeah, congratulations to the people of Mississippi who have been working on this for so long, for so many years. It's a massive improvement. It's a privilege for us to see this happen. It's a privilege to be around to see some good decisions being made. And all people in Mississippi being included as part of this. And hopefully they'll come up with something unique and original that is just as cool as Mississippi is for doing this. Finally, good news in 2020 after long last. Anyway, take care everyone. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day. Bye.